We're going to live together. If you don't like it, you can leave. My husband was with a small child. A girl, perhaps around 2 years old. Confused by the unexpected situation, I asked my husband. What does this mean? You suddenly brought a child, and just like that. This is my daughter. You never went through with fertility treatments, did you? That's why I brought her. How could you? I was shocked. Was my husband having an affair? I wondered what I should do and slumped down in a chair. Then I noticed the little girl looking at me anxiously. I stared at her familiar face and came to a realization. I'd welcome this girl with open arms. Saying that without thinking, I decided to reveal the truth. Upon hearing this, his face turned pale. And from there on, my life was about to change dramatically. I am Tracy, turning 30 this year. After graduating from graduate school, I had been dedicated solely to my research. Sometimes my work kept me so busy I didn't get home until the next day. And after work, I slept like a log. I hardly ever had a chance to meet men. At this rate, I might end up single for life. I am not the type that typically attracts men. I have specialized knowledge and often engage in various interests, which naturally increases my knowledge. And with men, I freely speak my mind without holding back. As a result, men tend to dislike women who flaunt their knowledge. Even at matchmaking parties organized by friends, I ended up sinking. While my friends paired up and left with men, I returned home alone. So, I thought marriage was not in my cards. Somewhat resigned, I threw myself into my work. However, as my friends got married and started families, conversations about married life and children became more common. Even my colleagues from the same lab, whom I considered comrades, found wonderful partners. While I felt internally rushed, I could only vaguely think about romance. I thought, there's no use rushing. I guess it's fine if a good person appears someday. At that time, my friend Mandy talked to me about fertility treatments. And then she made an unexpected proposal. It might be strange to ask you this, Tracy, but could you donate an egg? What? Egg donation? I can't produce eggs. So, egg donation is the only option left. Tracy, you're excellent, and a really good person. Since I can't have my own eggs, I thought your genes would be great. Is it okay? Mandy looked down anxiously. She was my rival, my best friend, and like a sister to me. I met her at our college and we had been researching and striving together ever since. She is as important as family to me, and I couldn't refuse her request. If mine are okay, then please use them. Thank you. Mandy thanked me with tears. Although I was initially surprised, I was truly glad to accept, seeing how happy it made her. The procedure went smoothly, and within 3 months, a new life would be growing inside her belly. When she showed me the ultrasound photo, I was moved as if it were my own child. Seeing a life I had only read about in textbooks and books now inside Mandy's belly was an indescribable thrill. It's amazing. There really is a life there. It's all thanks to you, Tracy. I appreciate it. As I caressed her belly, she expressed her gratitude again. 1 month later, I too had a fateful encounter. It happened at a matchmaking party I was forcibly taken to by the unmarried members of the lab. Tracy, you're knowledgeable, and your stories are really interesting. Tell me more. That was where I first met Kevin, who would later become my husband. He was a curious man who, unlike most men, seemed genuinely interested in the detailed knowledge that others might find off-putting. Moreover, he kept asking to hear more. He was the first man I had met who was such a good listener. Carried away by his attentiveness, we exchanged contact information. I had never had a boyfriend even at the age of 25, and thought he might drift away as well. Pushed by him, we went on many dates, and before I knew it, he had proposed. I fell in love with you the moment I met you. Will you marry me? I stared at the single diamond glittering in his large hand. He was endearing, with a large build but a personality as cute as a puppy's. Surely, the time I would spend with him would be fun and comforting. I am not so confident, but I look forward to living with you. I answered politely. Relieved, he showed a smiling face. For the first time, his adorable smile made my heart flutter. After that, we got married. His job involved a lot of interaction with people, unlike mine, and we decided to have a big wedding. I had said a family-only ceremony would be fine. They say a man isn't really mature until he's married. For my position at work, I want to invite colleagues and business contacts. Thinking of what I could do as his wife led to a grand ceremony with many of his work contacts celebrating with us. We enjoyed our newlywed life without major arguments. Today is your birthday, so I've reserved a restaurant. What time do you think you'll finish work? Really? I'm so happy. I'll come home early today. Thanks for everything. I should be the one thanking you a lot. You always take care of the house, even though you're busy with work every day. I'm happy to hear you say that, Kevin. See you tonight. With that, we embraced and headed off to our respective jobs. One day, I was thinking about having a child with my husband when he was assigned to go on a business trip abroad. How long will you be gone? I'm not sure when I'll be able to return. But considering my promotion, I can't turn it down. Sorry. What about having children? I was thinking it might be time. There's also IVF now, and you should start preparing your body, Tracy. It's better to start young. Let's have children through IVF. I couldn't say no to my husband, who insisted on this. He wanted a promotion, and being in sales, his work perspective was different from mine. Maybe this was inevitable, I thought, as I saw him off. I went to the hospital to start fertility treatments. I prepared my body to coincide with my husband's next return home and had my eggs collected. 6 months later, when my husband came home temporarily, I took him to the hospital to collect his sperm. However, he left immediately after greeting his workplace and visiting the hospital. At that time, I hurriedly saw him off. Later, when I heard the test results, I was confused. It turned out my husband had azoospermia. We couldn't conceive a child this way. But I couldn't immediately convey such a fact. Even on the phone with my husband, I struggled to disclose this truth. As I wondered what to do, the frequency of his calls began to decrease. When will you be back next? I really can't get away from work, sorry. He kept saying that. Before I realized it, 3 years had passed since he went on a business trip abroad. Over these 3 years, I had gotten used to being on my own and lived quite freely. I had wanted to experience the joy of carrying my own child like Mandy. But as time passed, those feelings naturally faded. Then, one day, I received a phone call. It was from my husband. Hello, Tracy? Kevin, it's been a while. How have you been?
Yeah.
I'm fine. How about you, Tracy? Yes, I'm fine. What's up? Well, actually, I can return to the US now. Really? Is it just a temporary return? No, my work here is done. I'm coming back home. When are you coming back? In 2 weeks. Understood. I'll prepare some delicious food. I promised him and hung up the phone. Although I responded calmly on the phone, I was inwardly very happy about his return. He had gone on a business trip abroad not long after we got married. and I couldn't help but feel lonely. I spent my days planning the menu for his return and cleaning the room, eagerly awaiting that day. However, I was soon reminded that reality was not always so sweet. As soon as he returned home, he said, "We're going to live together. If you don't like it, you can leave." My husband was with a small child. A girl, perhaps around 2 years old. Confused by the unexpected situation, I asked my husband, what does this mean? You suddenly brought a child, and just like that. This is my daughter. You never went through with fertility treatments, did you? That's why I brought her. How could you? I was shocked. Was my husband having an affair? I wondered what I should do and slumped down in a chair. Then I noticed the little girl looking at me anxiously. I stared at her familiar face and came to a realization. I'd welcome this girl with open arms. I said that spontaneously. Now it was his turn to be shocked by my changed demeanor. Hey. What do you mean? You're my husband. Didn't you notice? This child and we look alike. I said that and lifted the girl up to show how similar we were. The girl looked at me curiously but did not reject me. Huh? What? What does that mean? My husband couldn't understand and looked confused. I then told him the truth. Kevin, I never told you, but I've been donating eggs both in the US and abroad. It started when I donated eggs to a friend. Egg donation? What? Even if you don't understand, it's fine. Her name is Christina, right? I donated eggs to someone abroad. And they sent me pictures of the child a few times. That's how I recognized her. This child is truly mine. We can even do a DNA test. I'm more than happy to live together. What? His face turned pale as he faced this unexpected truth. I looked down at him, the betrayer, and delivered even more shocking news. By the way, Kevin, it seems you have azoospermia. Do you remember going to the hospital once before? That was the test result from that time, according to the doctor. What? I have azoospermia? That's impossible. Look, I have a child right here. Like you had an affair, were you cheated on too? Don't say such ridiculous things. Don't raise your voice. Christina will be startled. As I said that, Kevin lowered his voice. She was already tearful. After feeding Christina, I put her down for a nap. Despite being in a new place, she slept peacefully, breathing softly. Unexpectedly having a daughter, my cheeks were constantly flushed with joy. Later, I suggested a DNA test to my husband. He was adamant that she was his daughter. But it was clear to me that the results would be disappointing for him. There's no possibility of you being the father. But I have a 99% chance of being the mother, see? That can't be. But, Jasmine said she was my child. Jasmine wanted a child from her husband and requested an egg donation. By husband, she meant you? No, I just spent one night with her. Is that so? What were you planning to do if I left the house? I was going to be with Jasmine, we had promised that. I see. Thanks for confessing. What? Why would I stay with someone who had an affair? Once the adoption with Christina is finalized, I want a divorce. After I firmly said this, he silently left the room. I then hired a lawyer to proceed with the divorce and the adoption process with Christina. A month later, Kevin, who had been absent, showed up. I don't want a divorce. Don't abandon me. He clung to me, crying. As I struggled with how to respond, he began confessing all his misdeeds. He had gone to see his affair partner after failing to reach her by phone. And found she had already moved. He had hired a detective to find her, only to learn that Christina was the child of the woman and her husband. Kevin had been the affair partner. Furthermore, he was told that the relationship between the woman and her husband had deteriorated, and that they planned to pass Christina off to Kevin. I was deceived. I've come to understand that the one I need to cherish is you, Tracy. I've confessed everything I did. So please, don't divorce me. I beg you. He must have thought I would forgive him if he confessed everything. However, that was not the case. I was very happy when I married you. I was so pleased when you said you found my stories interesting and wanted to hear more. I thought my days with you would be fun. I wanted children too, but when I learned you were infertile, it was hard for me to tell you because I thought it would hurt you too. So I decided it was okay if we couldn't have children. Being with you was more important then. But I have no intention of staying with someone who betrayed me. I'm not that cheap. I'm going to divorce you. What about me? How do you think I'll look? Do you know how many people from work I invited to our wedding? You invited them, right? I said a family wedding would be fine. But you wanted to solidify your position at work. If that's so important, you shouldn't have had an affair. Are you saying it's okay for me to be seen as the bad guy? Well, you are the bad guy, aren't you? As I said this with a smile, he hung his head low. He had been sprawled out at the entrance for a while. But by the time I was done caring for Christina, he was gone. After that, through the lawyer, I divorced him. At my workplace, my ex-husband became known as the worst kind of jerk who had an affair and fathered a child. This fact naturally spread among my colleagues and their partners. Among them were colleagues from his workplace. I heard from one of them that he had even lied about the reasons for our divorce at his job. My wife didn't do housework or take care of the kids. And while I was on a business trip abroad, she got pregnant with another man. I'm the victim. However, the truth had a greater impact than lies, and ultimately tightened the noose around his own neck. The rumor spread, and he gradually lost his place at work and resigned voluntarily within a month. The compensation I had demanded during the divorce remained unpaid after he quit his job. Shall we collect it? However, I declined. With his social standing taken away, my retribution was essentially complete. Moreover, as I continued my career in research, I wasn't financially struggling. Going forward, I can manage well enough as a single mother raising Christina. I had completely cut ties with him and discarded all memories of him. As time passed, Christina, who was 2 years old then, grew into a 15-year-old teenager. She is going through puberty but has grown up as a mommy's girl. Mom. I got an A on my test. Amazing. Just like my daughter. I stroked her head as she confidently showed me her test. She is aware of her origins. Despite that, she has accepted me. The one who raised me is you, Mom. You're the one I always remember. You've always taken good care of me. No matter how I was born, I'm your child, right? Of course. I laughed and hugged my daughter tightly. There may be tough times ahead. However, together as mother and daughter, we want to live on.